The space station GalacticPrime floated silently in the vastness of space, a gleaming hub where countless alien species gathered. Ships of all shapes and sizes docked at its massive bays, their lights blinking like stars in motion. It was a place of trade, diplomacy, and sometimes rivalry. Yet today, a new visitor was about to arrive, a human, a species rare in this sector of the galaxy. Captain Ethan Shaw stood on the bridge of his ship, the Odyssey, staring out at the massive station. His dark hair was slightly tousled, and his eyes, a deep hazel, reflected both determination and curiosity. Around him, his crew moved with practiced precision, checking systems and preparing for docking. They were all humans, each trained for this journey. But none had been here before, docking clearance confirmed. "Captain," said Lieutenant Marilyn, her voice calm but tinged with excitement. "GalacticPrime is ready for us." Ethan nodded. "Good. Let's make sure we arrive with dignity. Remember, we're representing Earth, and I want them to see what humans can do, even before we speak." The Odyssey eased toward the station, its thrusters glowing softly. As they approached the docking bay, Ethan could see the aliens watching them from the observation platforms. They were tall, sleek, and colorful Cytrians with smooth, iridescent skin and eyes that seemed to change color with every glance. Their long limbs moved with grace, but there was an air of superiority in every gesture. As soon as the docking clamps secured the ship, a group of Zitrians approached the airlock. Leading them was Vorak, a towering Zitrian with deep green skin and a face that seemed carved with sharp elegance. His eyes settled on Ethan with a mixture of amusement and disdain. "Ah, the human," Vorak said, his voice ringing across the docking bay. "I have heard stories of your kind. Small, fragile, and clumsy. I wonder why Earth sent such a limited creature to our station." Ethan stepped forward, his hands relaxed at his sides. "I am Captain Ethan Shaw of Earth, and we are here to discuss peaceful cooperation, not to fight. But I am not fragile, and I suggest you not underestimate humans." Vorak laughed, a sound like chimes clashing in the wind. "Huh, cooperation? You look as if you could break if you sneeze too hard. Tell me, human, do you even understand the meaning of power in this galaxy?" Ethan's lips curved into a faint smile. He did not reply immediately. Instead, he observed Vorak's body language, noting the arrogance, the overconfidence. He understood that the Zitrians valued strength and elegance, often judging a species by appearances and raw physical abilities. The other Zitrians around them snickered and whispered, pointing at Ethan and his crew. Some made subtle gestures imitating human movements, mocking their supposedly awkward posture. Even the dock workers stopped to watch, curious about the strange little species that dared enter their domain. Ethan's first impression of GalacticPrime had been careful observation. Now, with the mockery in full view, he realized that diplomacy alone might not earn respect. He needed to show, not just tell, what humans were capable of. "Mara," he said quietly, "scan their movement patterns. Note their reactions. I want every detail recorded." Mara nodded, her eyes flicking over the holographic interface. "Understood, Captain. But do you really think we can impress them? Look at their expressions, they don't even take us seriously." Ethan's gaze did not waver from Vorak. "They will take notice. Humans have a way of surprising everyone when least expected." Before more words could be exchanged, Vorak stepped closer, towering over Ethan. "Tell me, human, what is the use of your species? Can you fight? Can you lift the heavy cargo? Or perhaps you are here only to entertain us?" Ethan remained calm, though his pulse quickened. He knew that appearances mattered, and the Zitrians loved to judge. He decided that patience and observation would be his first tools. "I suggest you watch carefully before judging," Ethan said evenly. "Strength is not the only measure of power. Humans have endurance, creativity, and adaptability, qualities you might find unexpected." Vorak tilted his head, the expression on his face both mocking and curious. "Endurance. Creativity? adaptability. Show me, human. Prove that your species is worth my attention, or leave now before we grow bored. A small crowd of Zitrians had gathered, sensing entertainment in Vorak's taunting. Some were recording the interaction with floating devices, eager to witness what they assumed would be a spectacle. Ethan took a deep breath, then stepped forward into the center of the docking bay. If you want to judge us, then you shall have your chance. But I do not fight for pride. I fight to show what humans can do when faced with challenges. Observe, Zitrians. Observe well. Vorak raised one long eyebrow and gestured to a nearby platform. Very well, human. We shall arrange a trial. If you survive, perhaps you may gain our respect. Fail, and you shall be nothing more than a curiosity. Ethan's crew exchanged quick glances, a mixture of concern and anticipation on their faces. Mara leaned close to Ethan. A trial? Do you really want to accept it? They're not going to go easy on you. Ethan looked toward the Zitrians, watching eagerly. We have no choice but to accept. If humans are to earn a place in this galaxy, it begins with moments like this. Let's show them that we are more than what they expect. The trial was announced for the following day. The docking bay would serve as the arena. The challenge would combine physical and mental tasks designed by the Zitrians themselves. The humans had never seen anything like it, and yet they prepared diligently. That evening, Ethan walked alone along a corridor of the station. The walls glowed with soft bioluminescence, the air humming with the movement of countless beings. He paused near a viewing window, gazing out at the stars. Thinking about the challenge ahead? Humans had always adapted to difficult situations, whether on Earth or in the stars. They had built civilizations, crossed oceans, and now crossed galaxies. Ethan drew a steadying breath. No alien mockery would define their worth. The next morning, the docking bay was transformed. Obstacles of every kind sprawled across the floor-floating platforms, suspended energy barriers, and puzzles embedded in the structure. It was both a test of strength and intelligence, a spectacle meant to amuse the Zitrians and humiliate the human. Vorak appeared. Flanked by several other Zitrians, their forms tall and gleaming in the bright lights of the arena. Human Vorak announced, his voice echoing, "If you are truly as remarkable as you claim, then prove it. Let this trial determine whether Earth deserves recognition in our galaxy." Ethan stepped forward, his posture firm but unassuming. He did not shout or make grand gestures. Instead, he simply prepared himself, eyes scanning the obstacles, mind calculating possibilities. Every motion, every choice, would count. The Zitrians began to cheer, some jeering, some merely observing. Ethan could feel the weight of their expectation, the assumption that he would fail. Yet in that moment he also felt the spark of opportunity. Humans had always thrived when underestimated, and so the first part of the trial began. Ethan's feet moved with careful precision, his hands finding grips where others might fail. The Zitrians gasped at his unconventional methods. A floating platform tilted dangerously, and he used momentum to swing himself across. A puzzle of energy beams blocked his path, and he used a simple reflective panel to redirect the light, opening a gate, even in the first moments. It became Clarathon was not just surviving. He was thinking differently, seeing solutions where the Zitrians saw only obstacles. And somewhere deep in the crowd, murmurs of surprise began to ripple through the spectators. Vorak's green eyes narrowed, a flicker of doubt crossing his face. "Interesting," he muttered. "Perhaps this human is more than trivial." Ethan did not notice. He focused only on the path ahead, his body and mind moving as one. He could feel the challenge testing him, but he also knew that this was only the beginning. Humans were often underestimated, but that very underestimation gave them the edge. The first part of the trial was just a glimpse. The Zitrians had laughed, mocked, and judged. But now the human had begun to show them a truth they were not expecting, a truth that would unfold slowly, startlingly and irrevocably. And somewhere in the back of his mind, Ethan knew one thing for certain. The moment they discovered his Earth's origin, their mockery would end. Respect would follow. But for now, the trial had begun. and the humans would show what they were truly capable of. The docking bay of GalacticPrime had transformed into a spectacle of alien engineering. Platforms floated midair, energy barriers hummed and shifted, and walls glowed with patterns that seemed impossible to interpret at first glance. The crowd of Zitrians had grown, filling the observation decks and circling around the arena. Many carried small devices, recording the events. Eager to witness the humiliation or surprise of the human dot, Captain Ethan Shaw took a deep breath and stepped onto the first platform. He could feel the eyes of countless beings on him, but he forced himself to focus only on the challenge ahead. This was not just a test of strength. It was a test of observation, ingenuity, and endurance. Remember, he whispered to himself, humans survive by thinking differently. The first obstacle was deceptively simple. Floating platforms drifted across a gap, each moving in unpredictable patterns. Zitrians often leaped effortlessly between them, their long limbs allowing wide strides. Humans, smaller and slower, had to rely on timing and balance. Ethan observed the rhythm of the platforms, gauging their speed, then leaped at the precise moment. The crowd murmured as he landed safely, adjusting his weight at the last second to avoid slipping. Vorak's eyes narrowed. MPH. Lucky, perhaps. Or clever. Let's see how long that lasts. The next section was a puzzle of energy beams crisscrossing the chamber. Any touch would trigger alarms, sending the human back to the start. Zitrians often relied on speed and agility to pass such obstacles, assuming anyone slower would fail. Ethan, however, noticed a small reflective surface embedded in the wall. With careful calculation, he positioned it to redirect the beams. Opening a safe path forward, Clever muttered Marilyn from the side, watching on a portable display. I didn't think that would work. Ethan allowed himself a faint smile. Humans had always used tools and creativity to overcome limitations. Even when weaker in strength, their minds often turned impossible situations into manageable problems. The next obstacle was Physicala. Swinging barrier designed to test strength and timing. Vorak chuckled, clearly expecting failure. The Zitrians had superior reach and muscle. So this test was supposed to showcase human weakness. Ethan waited, studying the pattern. He didn't try to overpower the barrier. He waited until it swung forward, then used his momentum to slide under it, rolling to absorb the impact. The move was unconventional, but effective. The Zitrians gasped, whispering among themselves. Some of the younger spectators leaned forward, curiosity overtaking their initial amusement. Interesting, Vorak said again, his tone less mocking now. The human adapts. Not with force, but with thought. Perhaps there is more to them than I expected. Ethan pressed on, now facing a series of floating orbs that emitted pulses of light. Each pulse created a magnetic field, pushing or pulling objects within range. A misstep could send him flying or trap him in the beams indefinitely, instead of rushing. Ethan observed the timing, noting the intervals of the pulses. Using a combination of jumps, rolls, and careful positioning, he navigated the orbs with precision. The crowd started to murmur louder, impressed by his unconventional methods. One young Zitrian even clapped quietly, though most of the spectators were still too stunned to react openly. The unexpected display of ingenuity was turning the arena into a place of admiration rather than ridicule. The mental portion of the challenge awaited. Next, a complex puzzle built into a wall. Panels lit up with symbols that seemed meaningless at first. To pass, Ethan had to activate the correct sequence. Zitrians solved such puzzles instinctively, trained from birth. While humans often relied on logic and deduction, Ethan's mind raced, recalling patterns from Earth puzzles he had studied. He noticed a faint rhythm in the symbol's illumination. Recognizing the sequence, he pressed the panels accordingly. The final symbol clicked into place, and a gate opened, granting access to the final obstacle. Vorak's green eyes narrowed further. Impressive. But do not think this proves superiority. Perhaps you have skill, but strength is only beginning. The final obstacle combined everything. Floating platforms, energy barriers, magnetic fields, and a puzzle requiring both timing and intellect. Most Citrians would have relied on raw power and reflex. But Ethan had to merge observation, timing, and strategy. He moved carefully, one step at a time. When a platform shifted unexpectedly, he used momentum to swing across. When an energy beam blocked his path, he manipulated a reflective surface to redirect it. When the magnetic field tried to throw him off balance, he adjusted his stance and continued forward. Every move required thought, not brute force. The audience had grown silent, watching intently. Even Vorak seemed unsettled, his confidence shaken. The human's performance defied expectations at every turn. Ethan reached the final puzzle panel, a wall that required solving a combination of patterns while balancing on a small platform. Time was critical. Failure meant starting over. He analyzed the symbols, remembered the patterns, and carefully pressed the panels in order. A soft click echoed through the chamber, and the gate ahead opened. He had done it. The crowd erupted into chatter, some in disbelief, some in admiration. Vorak's face was unreadable for a moment. Then slowly, a hint of respect appeared in his expression. "You survive, human," Vorak said, his voice quieter, almost thoughtful. "But you have not yet revealed your origin. What is it about Earth that allows such resilience?" Ethan stepped forward, breathing steadily despite the physical and mental exertion. Earth is a planet of many challenges. Humans survive because we adapt. We use our minds as much as our bodies, and we learn from every obstacle we face. The Citrians seemed to consider this, murmuring among themselves. Some nodded subtly, acknowledging a truth they had not expected. Humans, though smaller and seemingly weaker, had a cunning and adaptability that no amount of raw strength could easily match. Mara Lynn joined Ethan, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Captain, you did it. They've changed their perspective. At least some of them." Ethan nodded, glancing at Vorak. "This is just the beginning. Wait until they learn where we come from. Earth is not just a planet. It is a legacy. And it has produced humans capable of facing the stars." Vorak's eyes flickered with curiosity. "A legacy, you say? Perhaps your species is more than trivial. Perhaps there is more to discover. If you survive the next stages of our interaction..." The trial had been a test of endurance, intelligence, and adaptability. Ethan had shown the Citrians that humans could not be easily dismissed. The crowd's perception had shifted, and even Vorak's mockery had softened into cautious respect. Yet Ethan knew that the true turning point was still to come. The moment the Citrians realized his Earth's origin, the entire dynamic would change. For now, though, he had earned a measure of recognition, proving that humans were resourceful, clever, and determined, a species that could not be easily underestimated. As the crowd dispersed, whispering among themselves, Ethan and his crew regrouped. The trial had been a success, but it was also a reminder. In the galaxy, humans were rare, often underestimated, yet capable of surprising even the most arrogant aliens. Ethan looked out at the station's skyline, his mind already preparing for what lay ahead. The challenge had tested skill and intellect, but soon, the revelation of Earth's true legacy would shift the Citrians' perception entirely. The first battle had been won not with brute force, but with ingenuity, patience, and the quiet confidence of a species accustomed to facing the impossible. And in that moment, Ethan realized that humans were beginning to leave their mark on Prime. One thoughtful move at a time, the story of the human captain had begun. And it was only the first chapter in a journey that would change the way the Citrians and, perhaps, the galaxy saw humanity. The arena on Prime was now quieter, but the tension was thick. The first obstacles had been completed, yet the crowd of Citrians remained, whispering and exchanging glances. They had not expected the human captain, Ethan Shaw, to survive the early challenges. And yet he had. Vorak stepped forward, his towering frame casting a shadow over Ethan. The mockery had not faded. If anything, it had grown sharper. "So, human," Vorak said, his voice like a low hum through the chamber. "You can jump, you can dodge, you can think. But now you face the real test. Can your species survive under pressure? Can you endure when every moment demands strength and wit together?" Ethan looked steadily at him. He had faced ridicule all his life, from childhood games to military training, and he had learned the value of patience. "Strength is not just muscle," he replied evenly. "Endurance is not just how long you can run. Humans adapt. We face difficulty and find solutions, even when others expect us to fail." The crowd murmured, some with curiosity, others with doubt. Most of the Zitrians still expected failure. Humans were too small, too fragile, too limited. Yet they watched, captivated by the humans' calm determination. Vorak gestured to the next obstacle, and it shimmered into view. A platform suspended in midair swayed above a pool of liquid that glowed with an alien energy. Around it floated rotating blades, and the walls of the chamber began to shift, closing slowly. The design was meant to test not just agility, but decision-making under extreme pressure. "You see," Vorak said, smirking, "most humans would panic now. Their small bodies, their weak muscles, their slow reflexes, all will fail here. Watch carefully, observers, as this human meets his limits." Ethan studied the platform. His mind raced, calculating angles, distances, and timing. He did not flinch. Every challenge had a solution, if one could observe carefully and act decisively. He waited for the right moment, then sprinted, leaping to the swaying platform. The blades cut the air just inches from his feet. A collective gasp echoed through the chamber. Some Zetrians muttered disbelief. Ethan adjusted his balance, rolling forward when a sudden shift tried to throw him off. He crossed the platform using careful momentum to stay upright, never relying on raw power, only precision and observation. Vorak narrowed his eyes. You survive. But the next part will test more than your body. It will test your resolve." The next challenge involved a series of suspended panels, each floating above a pit of the glowing liquid. The panels were unstable, tilting with the weight of each step. The Zetrians could leap effortlessly from one to another. A single misstep for a human could mean falling into the energy pool below, or even brief contact could stun or disorient. Ethan paused. Unlike the Zetrians, he could not simply jump from panel to panel. Instead, he analyzed the distance, the tilt, and the timing. Then, using careful balance and momentum, he moved step by step. At times, he used his hands to stabilize himself. Dragging along the edge of a panel to keep from falling, Vorak watched, a flicker of surprise crossing his features. He had expected the human to falter immediately. Curious. "Humans are small, yet somehow persistent," he muttered. The Zitrians around him whispered among themselves. Some were impressed, some skeptical, but all were paying attention. A human surviving obstacles designed for superior alien strength was unusual, to say the least. Then came the mental component. The panels began to shift, forming a puzzle pattern. Certain panels were safe. Others would tilt and throw the human into the glowing pool. The Zitrians would solve it instinctively, relying on muscle memory and their natural perception. Ethan, however, had to think logically. Anticipating each panel's movement and pattern, he moved carefully, noting the sequence, calculating the safest path. His heart beat steadily, his focus absolute. Step by step, he crossed the shifting panels, reaching the final platform. The audience watched in tense silence. Vorak's voice, usually so sharp and mocking, was quieter now. Impressive. But we will see if determination alone is enough. The final obstacle awaited. A suspended maze of rotating rods, energy barriers, and moving platforms, all requiring split-second timing. Most Zitrians relied on strength and speed to overcome it. Humans, smaller and weaker, had to rely on observation, patience, creative thinking. Ethan stepped forward, his eyes scanning the patterns. He noticed that the rods rotated in a predictable rhythm, and the energy barriers pulsed at regular intervals. He did not rush. Timing, observation, and creativity would be his tools. When a rod swung toward him, he ducked and twisted, letting momentum carry him through. When an energy barrier blocked his path, he shifted a nearby reflective panel to redirect its pulse, opening a safe path. Each step required patience and precision. and each success surprised the crowd further. Vorak's mockery became sharper, a mix of irritation and disbelief. "Human, you continue to survive. But surely your luck will end. No species can endure this without power, without skill equal to ours. You are small, weak, and untested." Ethan glanced at him, calm and unwavering. "This is not luck," he replied. "This is adaptation. Humans do not rely on size or strength alone. We use our minds, we observe, we adjust, and we persist. You judge by appearances, but we show what is possible when underestimated." The crowd was silent, stunned. Some whispered to each other, realizing that the human might possess qualities they had not considered. Persistence, ingenuity, and quick thinking could rival raw strength, and in some cases, surpass it. Ethan approached the final section, a small platform with a puzzle panel embedded in the floor. He had to solve it while balancing under pressure from all directions. One wrong move could mean falling and failure. He studied the symbols on the panel. Recalling patterns he had seen on Earth, logic and observation guided his fingers, pressing the panels in the correct sequence. A soft click echoed. The path ahead opened. The audience erupted in murmurs and whispers. Even Vorak's green eyes widened slightly. Persistence and intelligence. Perhaps humans are not as trivial as I assumed. Ethan breathed steadily, though his body ached from the exertion. He had survived the full challenge, using only observation, creativity, and endurance. The human had proven that size and strength were not the only measures of capability. Mara Lynn approached him, her voice quiet but full of pride. "Captain, you've done it. They're beginning to see us differently." Ethan nodded, glancing at Vorak. "This is just the beginning. Wait until they learn where we come from. Earth has a legacy that even the galaxy respects. Today, they've seen our skills. Tomorrow, they'll learn our story." Vorak's expression shifted, a mixture of curiosity and grudging respect replacing some of his earlier mockery. "Your performance is unusual. Endurance, creativity, and patience combined. You may survive, human, but what is the source of such capability? What makes Earth produce such? Resilience?" Ethan smiled faintly. "Earth is a planet of challenges. Humans adapt. We survive, we think, and we overcome. We do not rely on appearances or strength alone. That is our nature." The Zitrians exchanged glances. Even the younger observers whispered to each other, realizing that this human had qualities beyond expectation. He had faced ridicule, mocked as weak and fragile, and yet he had succeeded where many Zitrians would have relied solely on physical power. Vorak stepped back, the first real acknowledgement of respect in his posture. "Interesting," he muttered. "Very interesting indeed. Perhaps I have underestimated humans. Perhaps. It is time to learn more." Ethan's eyes swept the crowd, seeing not just curiosity, but the first sparks of respect. This struggle had shown the Zitrians that humans were capable of much more than appearances suggested. And soon, when they discovered his Earth origin, the realization would grow even stronger. The trial had tested body, mind, and patience. Ethan had faced taunts, obstacles, expectations of failure, and had survived through intelligence, observation, and unwavering determination. Humans, often underestimated, had shown once again that being small or different was no barrier to excellence. As the crowd slowly dispersed, Ethan and his crew regrouped. He knew the real turning point was coming. The moment the Zitrians realized the human captain hailed from Earth, a planet known throughout the galaxy for explorers, warriors, and innovators, the mockery would end, replaced by respect and perhaps awe. For now, Ethan had proven one truth. Humans thrived when underestimated, using resilience, intellect, and creativity to overcome challenges that others assumed were impossible. And in the quiet of his mind, he prepared for the revelation that would change everything. The arena was quiet now, the trial nearly complete. Captain Ethan Shaw had navigated every obstacle, solved every puzzle, and impressed the Zitrians more than anyone could have imagined. Yet the final revelation was still waiting. Hidden in plain sight a truth that would change everything. Vorak's green eyes followed Ethan closely. "You survive, human, but tell me, what is your origin? From what world does a species capable of such endurance come?" Ethan glanced at Vorak, then at the watching crowd. The moment had come. He reached for the emblem on his uniform, the insignia of Earth, his home planet. It was small but unmistakable, a blue and green globe, symbolizing the planet that had produced generations of explorers, thinkers, and warriors. He held it up, letting the light catch the emblem. "This," he said simply, "is where I come from, Earth, a planet known for its challenges and for those who rise to meet them. You have seen what I can do, but now you know where it begins." For a moment, the Zitrians were silent. A ripple of shock passed through the crowd. Whispers spread quickly. Earth. That name was legendary in the galactic archives. Few believed humans still traveled beyond their system. Few expected a human to stand here. Facing Zitrians with such skill and determination, Vorak's eyes widened, the surprise evident. His tone, once sharp and mocking, softened into disbelief. "Earth? You are from Earth?" Ethan nodded. "Yes, and humans are not defined by size or strength alone. We endure, adapt, and innovate. You saw it today, and now you understand our origin." The crowd began to murmur loudly, curiosity and respect mixing in their voices. Some Zitrians stepped back, reassessing the small human who had amazed them. Others leaned forward, eager to learn more about a species they had dismissed as primitive. Vorak took a step closer, studying Ethan. "I did not expect this. Humans from Earth. I had heard stories of courage, ingenuity, and endurance. But to witness it firsthand, it is remarkable." Ethan kept his posture calm, but confident. Stories do not capture the full truth. Humans are more than legends. We face challenges head-on. We survive, we adapt, and we overcome. Today, you saw just a glimpse of that. Zitrian's perspective shifted visibly. Many who had laughed and mocked earlier now watched with fascination. Vorak's former sneer was gone, placed by a careful acknowledgement of human capability. "You have proven skill and cleverness beyond expectation," Vorak continued. "But more importantly, you have proven resilience. That is the hallmark of Earth, is it not? To thrive where others would fail?" Ethan nodded. "Yes. Humans have always thrived in difficult conditions. We build, explore, and survive. That is our nature. You cannot judge us by appearances alone." The crowd erupted in whispers and soft applause. Some Zitrians, who had been openly mocking before, now bowed their heads slightly, gestures of respect in their culture. Even younger observers looked at Ethan differently. "They're all evident." Vorak's voice carried across the chamber, commanding attention. "All who have observed hear this. The human before you is from Earth, a planet of explorers and thinkers. And this human captain, Ethan Shaw, has demonstrated what it truly means to be human. You may have underestimated him, but now you see humans are capable of endurance, intelligence, and ingenuity that rivals any species in this galaxy." Ethan's crew stepped forward, standing tall beside their captain. Mara Lynn, Lieutenant Kara, and others exchanged proud smiles. They had followed him into this challenge, and now the Zitrians saw them not as fragile strangers, but as representatives of a remarkable species. One young Zitrian approached cautiously, curiosity written across its features. "Captain, human, you are small, yet you face obstacles that would challenge the strongest of us. How do you endure?" Ethan smiled faintly. "We endure because we must. We face what others see as impossible. We learn from every challenge, and most importantly, we never give up." The Zitrian's eyes widened. "Never give up," it repeated, as if tasting the idea for the first time. "Your species has a spirit unlike any I have seen. Perhaps Earth has taught you well," Vorak observed silently, though a small smile began to appear. The mockery was gone, replaced with respect, and perhaps a hint of admiration. It seems I was wrong to judge by size or appearance. Humans carry something different, something powerful. Ethan's calm demeanor and quiet confidence had achieved what words alone could not. The demonstration of skill, combined with the revelation of Earth's origin, had shifted the balance entirely. Zitrians were now aware that humans were not just clever or lucky, they were a species that could face adversity with creativity, courage, and endurance. The younger Z, inspired by Ethan's display, began asking questions. Can humans train others like this? Do all humans endure in the same way? How do you survive challenges no one else can? Ethan answered simply, humans survive because we observe, adapt, and innovate. Every challenge teaches us something. Every failure shows a new path. And every success is the result of persistence and cooperation. Vorak stepped forward, placing a hand near his chest in a gesture of acknowledgement. You have earned respect, Captain Ethan Shaw. Not by strength alone, but by demonstrating what humans are truly capable of. I underestimated you, and I will not do so again. Ethan inclined his head politely. Acknowledgement is appreciated, Vorak, but know this. Respect is earned, not given. Today we have taken the first step toward mutual understanding. Tomorrow, we can build more. The crowd cheered softly, and the murmur of approval grew louder. Humans once seen as fragile and weak were now admired for their determination, intelligence, and courage. The tide of perception had turned in a single moment, sparked by the revelation of Earth and the undeniable skill of its captain. Vorak's voice, now calm and firm, addressed the assembly. Let this be a lesson. Judging by appearance alone is folly. Even the smallest, seemingly weakest species can carry the strength of mind, spirit, and endurance. Humans are such a species. Today, we have witnessed their truth. Ethan allowed himself a small smile. He had not come to prove humans superior in every way, only to show that underestimation was dangerous, and that perseverance and creativity were qualities that no species could easily dismiss. Maralyn leaned close, whispering, Captain, you changed everything today. They see us now. Truly see us. Ethan looked at the crowd, at the young Zitrians whispering excitedly among themselves. At Vorak, who now regarded him with respect rather than scorn. Yes, Mara, and this is only the beginning. Humans have always risen when underestimated. Today was the start of a new chapter. Vorak's tone softened further as he studied the human before him. Tell me, Captain, what else can Earth teach us? Your people are skilled, clever, and enduring. Are there more lessons we might learn from your kind? Ethan straightened his posture. There are always lessons. Humans are explorers, innovators, and learners. We thrive on challenges and cooperation. We can teach, but we also learn from others. That is how we survive and grow together, or apart. We face the universe with determination. For the first time, humans were not merely curiosities to them. They were recognized as equals, a species capable of remarkable achievement and worthy of respect. The revelation of Earth had shifted everything. Mockery had given way to admiration. Disbelief had transformed into acknowledgement. And a subtle but profound respect for humans had begun to spread through the chamber. Ethan glanced at the young observers, seeing hope in their eyes. Perhaps one day, humans and Zitrians could work together, learning from each other's strengths and perspectives. For now, though, the demonstration of skill, endurance, and the revelation of origin had done what words alone could not. It had earned the respect humans deserved. The arena cleared slowly, the murmurs of amazement echoing through the chamber. Vorak lingered, studying Ethan one last time. You are remarkable, Captain. Truly remarkable. Perhaps Earth has produced something we did not fully understand, something worthy of admiration. Ethan inclined his head. Thank you, Vorak. That acknowledgement means more than mockery ever could. Humans are persistent, adaptable, and resilient. Today you saw that. Tomorrow, perhaps more will see it as well. The human captain had faced mockery, challenge, and doubt. He had endured and adapted, and in revealing his Earth origin, he had turned perception completely. Respect was no longer a hope it was earned. The story of the human captain on GalacticPrime was no longer one of ridicule. It had become a story of recognition, proof that humans, underestimated and often dismissed, were capable of rising to any challenge the galaxy could present. The arena had quieted, but the air was electric with anticipation. Captain Ethan Shaw stood at the center, calm and composed, his crew at his side. The revelation of Earth had shifted the mood entirely. Where there had been mockery and doubt, now there was admiration and curiosity. Zitrians whispered among themselves, some nodding. Others wide-eyed with surprise. Vorak, the towering Zitrian who had mocked Ethan most fiercely, stepped forward. His eyes, once sharp with ridicule, now held a thoughtful light. "Captain Ethan Shaw of Earth," he said, his voice steady. "You have proven skill, ingenuity, and endurance that even we did not expect. Your species is remarkable. You have earned not just my respect, but the respect of all who have witnessed this day." The audience murmured in agreement. Some clapped softly, a sound of acknowledgement in Zitrian culture, while others tilted their heads, observing the human with new appreciation. For a species that valued strength and perfection, the recognition of human ingenuity was no small gesture. Ethan nodded politely. "Thank you, Vorak. Recognition is appreciated. But know this, humans do not seek to dominate or belittle others. We strive to learn, to explore, and to cooperate. Today, you have seen our abilities. Tomorrow, we hope to build a better understanding together." Vorak's posture relaxed slightly. "You speak wisely. Perhaps we have judged too quickly. Perhaps there is much to learn from humans, and much we can share in return." A young Zitrian approached cautiously, her iridescent skin shimmering in the arena light. "Captain, how can your species endure so much, yet remain calm and creative under pressure?" Ethan smiled. "We face challenges because we must. Every problem teaches us something. Every obstacle shows a path if we look carefully. Humans survive by adapting, by observing, and by never giving up." Zitrian considered this, then nodded. "I understand. Persistence and observation. That is a lesson worth noting." Marlin stepped forward, adding, "Captain shows that we are not just strong but thoughtful. We rely on teamwork, on learning from mistakes, and on clever thinking. These are what make humans capable." Vorak's eyes softened further. "It seems Earth has produced a species that combines intellect, courage, and endurance. Perhaps we should no longer see humans as small or fragile, but as equals, capable of contributing meaningfully to the galaxy." The crowd of Zitrians began to relax, and many approached the human crew with cautious respect. Questions flowed, not in mockery, but in genuine curiosity. How do humans train? How do they survive in dangerous environments? What can we learn from Earth? Ethan welcomed the questions, answering calmly and thoughtfully. "Humans train to adapt, to observe, and to innovate. We do not fear failure, because failure teaches us what works and what does not. We use knowledge, creativity, and teamwork to overcome challenges that might seem impossible." The audience listened intently. Young Zitrians scribbled notes, eager to remember these lessons. Even some older observers, set in their traditional views, began to reconsider their assumptions. Humans were small, perhaps, but they carried qualities that could not be measured by appearance or strength alone. Vorak stepped closer to Ethan. Lowering his voice, "I must admit, I underestimated you. Your success has shown me that humans possess qualities that can rival even the finest Zitrians. Earth, your home planet, it has produced something extraordinary." Ethan inclined his head respectfully. "Earth is a world of challenges. Vorak, our people have learned to thrive in harsh environments, to overcome obstacles, and to grow from every experience. That is our nature." Vorak studied him silently for a moment. Then he raised his hand in a formal gesture. "On behalf of all who witnessed this day, I offer my respect. May humans and Zitrians learn from each other, and may cooperation flourish." The human crew relaxed slightly, but Ethan knew the significance of this moment. Respect was rare in this galaxy, especially for humans, a species often underestimated. Today, they had not only survived, but had earned acknowledgement that could change interstellar perception. As the crowd dispersed, Ethan walked along the arena floor, observing the reactions of the Zitrians. Some nodded, some whispered, and some approached to ask questions. Everywhere he looked, curiosity and admiration were evident. It was a stark contrast to the mockery they had faced upon arrival. Mara Lynn joined him, smiling. "Captain, you did more than survive the trial. You changed minds. They see humans differently now." Ethan allowed a small smile. "It's not just about survival. It's about showing that humans are adaptable, clever, and determined. Once they see that, respect follows naturally." Outside the arena, the council chamber of GalacticPrime had convened to discuss the day's events. Vorak reported Ethan's performance, emphasizing the intelligence, resilience, and creativity humans had demonstrated. Other Zitrians nodded, acknowledging the importance of the revelation. One council member, a senior Zitrian named Leora, spoke thoughtfully. "It seems we misjudged humans. They are not only capable in skill and intellect, but also carry an indomitable spirit. Perhaps it is time to reconsider how we interact with Earth and its people." Vorak responded, "Indeed. Captain Ethan Shaw has shown that humans are not to be underestimated. They have a legacy of innovation, courage, and endurance. We must approach them with respect and a willingness to learn." Ethan and his crew were invited to share their knowledge with the council. They presented innovations from Earth, strategies for survival in hostile environments, and lessons in cooperation. Zitrians listened, eager to learn and apply human techniques in their own endeavors. During the discussion, young Zitrians asked questions about human culture, exploration, and history. Ethan explained simply, highlighting the qualities that had allowed humans to thrive: adaptability, creativity, teamwork, and persistence. Each answer further impressed the council. Deepening their respect for humans, Vorak observed quietly, a small smile on his face. The transformation was complete. Where there had been mockery, there was now admiration. Where there had been doubt, there was now trust. Humans had earned a place, not just as visitors, but as contributors to the interstellar community. Later, in a quiet corner of the station, Ethan spoke with his crew. "Today was important, but this is just the beginning. Humans have shown skill and determination, but there is still much to learn and share. Our place in the galaxy will grow as long as we continue to adapt and lead by example." Mara Lynn nodded. "Captain, the Zitrians will not forget today. They will remember that humans are resilient, clever, and determined. They will tell others of our abilities and our legacy." Ethan looked out at the stars from the station's observation deck. "Yes, and they will see that Earth is a planet that produces people capable of facing any challenge. Not through sheer power, but through thought, persistence, and courage. That is what makes humans special." As the stars glittered beyond GalacticPrime, Ethan felt a sense of quiet pride. The mockery, the doubts, the trials, they had all been part of the journey. Humans had once again proven that being underestimated could be an advantage. They thrived under challenge, using their minds and spirit to overcome obstacles. The human crew returned to their ship, the Odyssey, but the story of Captain Ethan Shaw and the trial on GalacticPrime spread quickly. Zitrians shared the tale among themselves, a small human, underestimated and mocked, who had faced impossible challenges and emerged victorious. Revealing the strength of Earth's legacy, the tale became a symbol, a reminder that no species should be judged by appearances. Ingenuity, adaptability, courage, and endurance were qualities that transcended size, shape, or biology. Humans, though often dismissed, embodied these traits fully. Vorak stood at the station's observation deck later, watching the human ship depart. He spoke quietly to himself. "They are unlike any species I have known. Clever, resilient, determined. Humans from Earth are a force to respect. Perhaps we have much to learn from them." Ethan looked back at the station one last time, as the Odyssey glided into the stars. The journey ahead was long, and the galaxy full of challenges. But he knew this. Humans had left an impression that would not be forgotten. Their ingenuity and perseverance had earned respect. Their story was only beginning. As the Odyssey drifted further from GalacticPrime, Ethan allowed himself a small smile. The humans had faced ridicule, doubt, and challenge and had triumphed. They had not only survived, they had proven themselves. And in doing so, they had shown the galaxy that Earth's children were a species worth knowing. A species capable of greatness, and a species that thrived when underestimated. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, full of opportunities, challenges, and adventures. And Captain Ethan Shaw, with his crew of humans, was ready to face them all with the quiet confidence of those who had shown that humanity, in all its persistence and ingenuity, was not to be underestimated. The story on GalacticPrime had ended, but the legacy of humans had begun a legacy of respect, recognition, and inspiration across the galaxy.